Let's solve part B now. So suppose that the measurement cost is 10 euros, which workers will work at the salary firm. Well, let's see. First of all, to see which workers work for the salary, we must know what productivity is going to make the worker indifferent between a piece rate and a straight salary. So there's going to be a level of productivity that makes the worker indifferent, and that level is going to be somewhere on this distribution between 0 and 100. So we're looking for that output, for that Q level that makes the worker indifferent. Now, when would the worker be indifferent? He would be indifferent if the fixed salary, which would be the average productivity on this range. What is the average productivity on this range? Well, that would be the midpoint, the middle value, and that is the quantity produced divided by 2. The fixed salary, this is, by the way, our fixed salary, let's call it FS, must be equal to with the piece rate at that level. So for the same guy who produces this level of quantity, subtracting the cost of 10 euros must give him the same salary as Q over 2. So this must be equal to the level of production minus the cost of proving himself, the cost of measuring his output, and they must be equal, because in this case he would be indifferent between the fixed salary and the piece rate. Let's call that PR. Now let's just solve the math here and see what that level is going to be. So if we do a cross multiplication here, we would have the quantity equals to 2 times the quantity minus 10. So let's open the brackets to see what we get. We will have over here below Q equals to 2 times Q minus 2 times 10, so minus 20. Let's take the numbers on one side, the variables on the other side, so that we can calculate it. We will have 2Q minus Q equals to the quantity, and minus 20 goes to the left and becomes positive 20. So what we just found is that if the worker has a productivity level of 20 euros per hour, he's indifferent between the fixed salary and the piece rate. And let's just check to see if that's true. What would be the fixed salary on this range? Well, it would be the median, right? The middle value. The middle value between 0 and 20, well, that's 20 divided by 2, and that's 10 euros. So that would be the fixed salary. And what would be the piece rate if the guy decides to prove himself? Well, he would get the 20 euros worth of the value that he produced, but he has to prove it, and that costs 10 euros. So minus 10 would be equal to 10 euros as his final salary. So 10 equals to 10. Indeed, he is indifferent. Now, which people would benefit from the straight salary? Well, we said in the previous video that the people with lower productivity benefit from straight salary. And let's see how that would work out in this example. The people on this range would benefit from the straight salary. And for the sake of the example, let's take a number. For instance, if the productivity of that guy is equal to 18 euros. So if it's 18 euros, how much does he expect to get as a straight salary? Well, the straight salary that he would get would be the average value, and that would be 18 divided by 2. So he would get 18 divided by 2, which is equal to 9. Now, under the piece rate, how much would he get under the piece rate? Well, he produces 18. It costs him 10 to prove himself. 18 minus 10 is equal to 8. What do we notice? Well, 9 is greater than 8. So yes, he does benefit from a straight salary, because the productivity is so low that the productivity is so low, and the cost of measuring his output is so high that it's not advantageous, it's not worth for him to prove himself. That's the intuition. Now, if we go on this range, obviously the remaining guys will go for this payment, which is the piece rate. Let's take an example. For instance, what if that productivity level is going to be equal to 40 euros an hour? Well, with the 40 euros an hour, if this guy goes for the straight salary, he would get the average value, which is 40 divided by 2 equals to 20 euros. But if he proves himself, it would be 40 minus 10, right? The cost of measuring the output, and that's 30 euros. So 30 is greater than 20, meaning that on that range, indeed, the people will go for the piece rate, because their productivity is high enough to compensate for the cost of measuring their result, which is just 10 euro. So at the end of the day, it's worth for them to go for the piece rate instead of the fixed salary. Hope this makes sense. In the next video, we'll finish the question.